You feel like you need to look at other guys. And when you come to that conclusion, I mean, to be totally honest about it, I mean, you can't just snap your fingers. They're big contracts, and, you know, Chris did what he could, which was pretty awesome, I think.
More changes here at Progressive Field, and these have nothing to do with the reconfiguration of the ballpark. It's the Indians and the Minnesota Twins opening up a 3-game weekend series here this evening. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. A late afternoon bombshell, if you will. The trading deadline had come and passed a week ago, so sometimes everybody lets their guard down, but you forget you can still make trades. They just have to pass through the waiver wire, and the Indians pulled off a doozy this afternoon, sending both Nick Swisher and Michael Bourn to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for Chris Johnson. And Rick, for me, this has everything to do with the fact that with Swisher and Bourn, their first year in Cleveland, they played well. They got the team to the playoffs. Since then, injuries, subpar performance. They're looking at those contracts for next year. They wanted to get out from under them, and they did.
Well, I was surprised, a little bit shocked when I heard the deal, because Michael Bourn, who was hitting in the second half in the last 16 games, he's been hitting .360, but didn't do much this year for the most part. Nick Swisher coming off surgery with both knees. I'll tell you what, it was a great deal, I think, for the Indians, just so they don't have to pick up those deals next year. But, of course, Johnson has some money that he's going to have to be paid. Obviously, you don't fleece anybody anymore in a trade, so that they got some money back. Hopefully they save some in return, and they got to part ways, and I think it's a good deal for the Indians.
And in the end, as you heard Terry Francona say, for now this is all about watching young players, seeing what they have going forward. When we come back, we'll hear from both Nick Swisher and Michael Bourn before they departed Progressive Field here this afternoon. And then it's the first pitch between the Tribe and the Twins coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio.
that they would help expedite our return to competitiveness. And in the 2013 season, both guys were key contributors to us making the postseason. Unfortunately, since that time, things haven't played out maybe the way anyone would have hoped. And so that got us to today. And at this point, we had to not necessarily dwell on the past, but figure out the path forward. And we felt this move made sense for us and allows us that flexibility that would be helpful for us as we build our teams.
And I think that's the key word that you'll hear in the coming days, flexibility. And when you sign players to longer-term contracts, you sort of, one thing you have stability, I guess, payroll stability. You know what your payroll is going to be, but you kind of get locked into those numbers. And when players underperform, that's when you have to find a way out, and Chris did.
Well, you think about it with Swisher, if he was healthy and ready to come back, where was he going to play for this ball club? They're playing Chisenhall in right field now, and they're taking a look at some of their younger players that they have. And like he said, if you want to move forward, you have to take a look at what you have in your organization. And they're looking at all these kids. And most of this, when you look at the lineup, almost 70% of them today in the starting lineup spend a lot of time down in Columbus. So they are going to get a look at them.
I had a chance to catch up with both Michael Bourn and Nick Swisher before they left earlier this afternoon.
You can point at one thing, but I'm one of those people that think you win as a team, you lose as a team. I can sit here and say, oh, well, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, but, man, it's not talent. You can't put the finger on talent, so you just have to take it as it goes. We didn't start off good. We had a little hot streak in the middle, maybe a little bit, but other than that, man, we haven't really played past 500 baseball pretty much. So when that happens, somebody has to answer for it. So I guess I was the one that had to answer for it and had to go elsewhere and take my talents elsewhere. I still feel like I can play baseball, so, I'm excited to be going to Atlanta. I know this wasn't a great marriage, but, it wasn't a bad marriage, so it was somewhere in between. But, sometimes those you got to split up and try somewhere else.
For myself, it was a frustrating year and a half. I thought that coming back earlier in the year would be the smart thing, and it wasn't. We needed some more time. And from these last 2 weeks, I pretty much had my spring training in the state of Ohio. So, it was nice to go down there and to get back to the form that I know I am. And now that I'm fully healthy, man, sky's the limit now.
One thing, Michael Bourne's he's an underrated wordsmith. That guy, he can put a phrase together with the best of them. And you know what? He was a pro. He was upbeat. He was professional. He was always positive, even when things were not going well for him. And I think he will be missed in that clubhouse. As for Nick Swisher, I asked him what he thought what happened to the club this year, and he didn't want to offer an explanation because, in his words, quote, I wasn't here. And I think that's the lasting, unfortunate impression of Nick Swisher's time in Cleveland. He didn't spend a lot of it on the field in the last 2 years. Yeah,
well, and that's it. When you're getting paid to spend time and actually perform and do some things like this happen. And it's not. This isn't the only place it happens. It's all around baseball.
In the meantime, a game to play as Cody Anderson takes the hill for the Tribe. Paul Molitor's Twins come limping in here, having lost 5 in a row and 8 out of 10. 14 of their last 18, they've dropped back to the 500 mark. Brian Dozier will lead it off. Joe Mauer in the 2-hole. Miguel Sano will bat third. Trevor Plouffe in the cleanup spot. Torrey Hunter is fifth. Eddie Rosario sixth. And Aaron Hicks, Kurt Suzuki, and Eduardo Escobar. The Twins lineup brought to you by Toyota.
And tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is going to be Cody Anderson. Cody, since the All-Star break, his last 3 starts, he's 0-2 with an .840 earned run average, and he's allowed 4 home runs in the 15 innings, 24 hits, and 15 runs allowed. So he's going to try and stop this skid. He pitched better in his last outing. That was at home in front of a group of family and friends of about 60, where he went 6 2/3, gave up 6 hits and 4 runs. He left trailing that ball game 4-1, but still took the loss. So his very first start against the Minnesota Twins, we'll see what he has to offer tonight. Let's check out the defense brought to you by Jeep. Behind Anderson tonight, it looks like this. Brantley is in left, Holt in center, Chisenhall in right, Urshela at third, Lindor at short, Ramirez is at second, Sands at first, Gomes doing the catching.
DJ Rayburn will call the balls and strikes. Mike Everett is at first, Kerwin Danley at second, Rob Drake down at third. It'll be a beautiful evening overall, but it's like fall for August the 7th. It's cool and a very distinct breeze blowing straight in tonight.
Again, we have that breeze blowing in, and we've had that a number of times this year. We've commented on it. It knocks the ball down.
Windows Systems game time temperature will be 74 degrees. That wind will gust up to and over 20 miles an hour. We are ready to go as Brian Dozier steps in, and Cody Anderson delivers. Up and in, ball one. Dozier, an all-star for the Twins this year. Chops one foul and evens the count at 1-1. Dozier, though, has really struggled since the all-star break. I mean, he's hit 23 home runs. But over his last 10 games, he's batting just 143 with 15 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's a high fastball hitter, and you mess around up there, and he can turn it. Got off to a tremendous start. You know, you look at Minnesota, and they had a tremendous month of May. They were 20-7. Other than that, every other month they've been under 500. So they had one hot month where they picked it up, and they've got to try and find a way to turn it back around.
Well, when you look at Minnesota, Paul Molitor's club went into the All-Star break on a roll. They had won 8 out of 11, came out of the break and beat Sonny Gray 5-0 in Oakland. So they go into the break hot, they come out, they beat Sonny Gray, shut out the A's, they get to 10 games over 500. And since then, they've lost 14 out of 18. I mean, that's the thing that's troubling for Paul Molitor, because nobody saw this coming. The way they were playing. And he said, look, if somebody would have told me back in spring training that on August 7th we'd be sitting there at 500, from that perspective, I'd have said, okay, that's positive. But he said from where we were to where we are now, it takes on a whole different perspective.
Yeah, it comes down to, again, what a lot of clubs aren't doing, and that's scoring runs.
Pop foul, back out of play.
Because you look at they've done as many times as the Indians, 3 runs or less, 56 times. The Indians have done it 56 times as well. Minnesota has 3 more wins. They're 15-41. The Tribe has 12. So it's hard to win those low-scoring games, but you got to find a way to do it, because you're going to be in a lot of them.
Now the 2-2. Reached for it. And Lindor's throw is just in time. Dozier is out number 1. Our stat of the game is brought to you by Buick. Since the All-Star break, you look at the Twins' overall record. They've been outscored by a bunch. And that bullpen has become a trouble area.
Well, that's where it was so solid early.
Joe Mauer looks at ball 1 down low.
Big pitch tonight will be Cody Anderson's changeup, where he wants to miss his down with it. Can you talk about that bullpen? Remember, Perkins was almost perfect in the first half.
Ground ball to first. Jerry Sands scoops it up. 2 down. And here's a look at Minnesota since July the 18th. Losing 14 out of 18. Royals have just been above 500. But that's been good enough to keep them well ahead in the AL Central.
Everybody else 500, and the other teams are below.
Miguel Sano. This is a big dude at 6'4", 260 pounds. He's out of the Dominican Republic. Swing and a miss. And what a pitch by Anderson as he mows down the Twins. 1-2-3 here in the first inning. Now the Indians are coming to bat. Take a look at the Minnesota, or rather the Cleveland Indians starting lineup against the Minnesota Twins tonight for Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive. Jose Ramirez in the leadoff spot. Francisco Lindor heating up, batting second. Then it's Michael Brantley, followed by Carlos Santana, Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, Jerry Sands, Giovanni Urshela, and Tyler Holt starting in center field now, batting ninth.
Mike Pelfrey is the Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher tonight for Minnesota. He's 5-7 on the year. His last win coming June 7th. It was against Milwaukee. He's gone 9 starts without a win. And 0-5 in that time. He is 1-0 this year against the Indians in 2 starts.
Two quick strikes. Jose Ramirez was a walk machine against the Angels in Anaheim. But Mike Pelfrey comes out throwing a couple of quick strikes, and that one just missed. 6 times Jose Ramirez walked in the 3 games against the Angels. And it seemed like a lot of those walks came when he was leading off an inning. Outside, 2-2. And at least until Jason Kipnis returns, you would expect Ramirez will stay in that leadoff spot. Especially if he continues to draw walks at that kind of a rate. Smashes this one pretty well, deep center field. Hicks racing back. He won't get it. It's going to hit off the wall. And into second base, Jose Ramirez with a leadoff double on a 2-2 pitch that he absolutely hammered. And folks, if the winds turn around going the other direction, that ball probably would have gotten out of here.
You know, that cut through the wind pretty darn good. Can't believe it. He got a high fastball. Pelfrey's not afraid to throw the heater. He likes to pitch inside, but he left that one middle of the plate. And Ramirez really turned on it, went halfway up the wall, so he will hit his 7th double and give the Indians a good start here in the first.
Francisco Lindor squares and bunts it foul. In on the grass at third is Plouffe. Maurer even with the bag at first. Bunts it toward the third baseman. He'll make him field it. Gets the runner over to third, one away on the sacrifice.
Let's check the Twins defense for you now. We have the opportunity, brought to you by Jeep. It'll be Rosario in left, Hicks is in center, Hunter over in right. Plouffe at third, Escobar at short, Dozier is at second, Maurer at first, Suzuki doing the catching.
And that will give Michael Brantley a chance to give the Indians an early lead. Runner at third, one out. Twins will play the infield back, except at third base where Plouffe plays near the bag. Pulls it foul. Michael with 8 homers, 57 driven in with 30 doubles.
And, you know, and rarely do you see Michael go after the first pitch, but with a runner in scoring position, he went after the first one there. Pelfrey at .327 average with runners in scoring position. And you've got your top RBI guy here with runners in scoring position up.
Low and away. Brantley batting .347 this year with runners in scoring position. 9th best in the AL. Rounds it by the mound, and Ramirez got a late break, and he has to stay at third. Now he's going to try to come home. Here's the throw, and he is. I don't think he tagged him.
He did, but he
now
didn't touch the
out.
plate. That's a base running mistake. He stopped and went back.
So the Twins get out of the first on a base running gaff by Ramirez, who couldn't get the wheels started. He froze and then tried to come home late. They missed him on the tag initially, but his hand, no, I don't think it ever got to the plate.
Well, they may want to challenge it now.
No, I think Terry Francona said no thanks. So
Okay.
The inning is officially over. He didn't get that hand to the plate. And then the tag applied afterwards to end the inning. So after one, no score in Cleveland. The first inning. And Trevor Plouffe to lead off the second for Minnesota. He homered for the Twins yesterday, but over his last 6 games, hitting just .182.
Well, he's one guy from Minnesota that always seems to play well when the Indians either come to town or he comes to town to play against them.
To left field.
Off the end.
Brantley has it one away. All right, what did Ramirez do wrong here?
Here, he thought the pitcher was going to catch it, but it's his throwing hand. So he went back and then stopped. He didn't continue to come home. He hesitated and sort of watched the play for a minute. I can understand him maybe stopping when the pitcher had a chance and threw his bare hand up, but you don't stop and watch the play. You continue to go home because it got by the pitcher. And then when he became just a observer, that's what cost him.
Torrey Hunter pops the pitch to left. Brantley another routine out, 2 away. Keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Opportunities there for the young players with the trades today. And the Indians trying to wreck Minnesota's hopes even further than the Twins have already wrecked them themselves.
Well, divisional game. And that's what the Indians have to do, is turn it around in their division. They have the worst, 15-28 in their own division. Minnesota's a game over. They're 23-22.
Now Minnesota was in control of one of those wild card spots before this spell where they lost 14 out of 18. Still only 3 out, but you start talking about multiple teams involved in that fray, and it just gets a lot murkier. Swing and a miss. Anderson strikes out his second, and on 6 pitches, the Twins go 1-2-3. Carlos Santana, Yan Gomes, and Lonnie Chisenhall are due up for the Indians. At the knees, outside corner, a called strike to Santana. He's DHing tonight. Santana hitless in his last 8 at-bats. After finishing the series against the Angels 2 for 12. Up and in, just moved him back a little bit.
Even though Pelfrey hasn't won in his last 9 starts, he's only given up 2 homers in his last 7 starts. This guy's a ground ball pitcher. Number 1 in the league when it comes to inducing ground ball double plays. 24 of them. He's not afraid to pitch inside. He has hit 9 batters. You know, big right-hander, not overpowering. 6'7", 240 pounds, 31 years old. Changeup off the front foot.
Just missed. Now Pelfrey, he's got that pitch that he'll start at the hitter and try to
come back or
run it back over. He's missed, but when he's missing tonight, Rick, it's up. So I don't know if he's purposely trying to throw it up to knock him back and see if he can leak it over the plate.
He likes to pitch inside. I do know that. Maybe trying to get a feel for it. You know, his last start where he picked up the win against the Indians, he didn't walk a batter. And that was the first time he didn't walk a batter in a win since May of '09. He went 7 innings and gave up 6 hits, just 2 runs, and he retired. 11 of the last 12 hitters.
High pop. Third baseman Plouffe, with that win, he won't be able to get to that. Pushed it about 10 rows back.
To me, that's the key if you're pitching to this Indians lineup. If you don't give up any walks, and they've fallen out of first place in the walk department. Toronto has now taken it over, the lead as far as the American League goes. No extra base runners. It's tough to get 3-4 hits in an inning for this ball club, and they don't hit the big home run ball.
To center field where Hicks will make the catch. 1 away. Injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk for Minnesota. They're hoping to get Byron Buxton back at some point, talented young outfielder. A couple of injuries to the pitching staff with Malone and Nolasco. Well, the interesting thing about Pelfrey, Rick, is that with all those walks, and maybe there's something to it. Maybe because of all those walks, he doesn't give up many hits.
Right.
He's held the Indians to a career batting average against them, just 183 in his career starts against them. But he also, this says 34 innings pitched. He's walked 19 batters against 20 strikeouts.
Well, that's... Well, with the Indians there, he's given up 130 hits in 118 innings against the league coming into today.
Gomes trying to shoot one by Mauer at first, but he's there, 2 down. Look at that, no strikeouts, but only 2 walks, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, and he was out after 7 innings because of the pitch count. The problem for Mike Pelfrey is run support. He hasn't won since early June. June 7th was his last win against Milwaukee. That's a long time for a pitcher to go without seeing the W beside his name. Lonnie Chisenhall shoots one right back up the middle for a 2-out single.
Well, get live Indians baseball all season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
With 2 down and a runner at first, Jerry Sands to the plate. Sands 2 for 14 in this stint with the ball club. He went 1 for 11 in the Angels series. Maybe he can rekindle some of that home field magic. 7 for 19 so far this year here at Progressive Field. 2 balls, no strikes. Broke his bat. Hicks charges in to make the grab. Ends the inning. 2 complete, no score here in Cleveland. Out here at Progressive Field, Rock and Blast will take place after the ball game. So far, Cody Anderson 6 up, 6 down. He's thrown 9 straight strikes and misses. Low and away, ball 1 to Aaron Hicks. Hicks, Kurt Suzuki, and Eduardo Escobar for the Twins here in the 3rd. Aaron Hicks has reached base in 23 of his last 28 games. That's helped pump his batting average up in the process. Bloops this one toward left, but it's slicing. And
look at that thing just blow out of play. That wind, boy, it certainly does have an effect. You can tell when it's going down the 3rd baseline. Blows it into the seats. Well, I think if you hit it to straightaway right field or even to right center, it has got to push it down. Tells you how good Ramirez hit that ball to lead off the game in the bottom of the 1st.
Hicks fouls that one back to even it up. And Cody Anderson has come out throwing a lot of strikes here in the outset.
something that he did very well in his first 4 starts at the big league. He pounded the strike zone.
And that changeup hit off the end of the bat into center field for a base hit by Aaron Hicks.
First hit given up by Anderson. This one looked like it went off the end of the bat. Didn't have much carry to it, and it would look like maybe a high changeup is what it was. And he served that one into center field. So the leadoff man aboard here in the 3rd.
Here's Kurt Suzuki, batting .228 on the year. It's been a tale of 2 different seasons for Suzuki. On the road and at home, he's been a completely different hitter. Bunts it toward 3rd. Urshela will go to 1st. 1 away on the sacrifice. Suzuki, a sub 200 hitter at home, 258 on the road. Or other way around. Sub 200 on the road, 258 at Target Field. Great clip of the game. Danny Salazar mowing him down. Indians pitchers have been outstanding. The starters have just been phenomenal.
What was it, a 1.69 ERA over the last 9 starts? Have been terrific.
Up high, ball 1.
Then it looks like both of them early in the game, both teams, they were bunting early, trying to get guys over and trying to get the lead in the ball game, because when you're struggling to score runs, it always helps when you have the lead.
If you go back to that stretch with the 3 consecutive individual complete games, the last 9 overall, the starting rotation has put together a 1.83 ERA and a 155 batting average against.
That's dealing. Well, yeah, we scored 16 runs in the 7 games on the road, and they ended up with 3 wins. They certainly could have had 4. And that's not easy to do. So those starters, they were that Oakland series. Nothing but it seemed like 1 run on the board for either team.
Gomes out for a chat with Anderson. With Eduardo Escobar, the number 9 hitter at the plate, and Brian Dozier waiting on deck. Swung on and missed. Two balls, 2 strikes. And now we've got a question about the count, because the scoreboard and the umpires, I think, want to make sure they've got the right count.
It's 2-2. They want to double check. I think the scoreboard fooled them. It should be 2-2. It was 2-1 on the. They had 1-2 on the scoreboard, but the count was 2-1 until that swing and miss. I don't know. Do you know? Let's go check.
They might have to go to the video.
Sure, it's 2-2. That's exactly what they're going to do. That's funny, isn't it? You get 4 guys. They have the clickers, and you don't know what it was.
I thought they all kept the count.
Obviously, they don't. They got to go back and look at it. They're going to find out it's a 2-2 count. I've seen a couple times where it was ball 4 on hitters. The umpires didn't know.
Yeah, it happens. Every once in a while it happens.
Oh, it happens. It certainly does happen. They're going to find out. It'll be.
Well, the home plate umpire, he's got the clicker. He's keeping track. But then he looks up at the board and said, "Oh, did I miss a pitch?"
Yeah, so he needs a little help.
And then nobody else was really sure on the field to help him, so they're going to go and make sure by going back to the video replay.
He's telling those guys, can you move away? Let my starter throw. We'll show it to you in a hurry. Right here. Ball one. Strike one. Ball two. Strike two. There you go.
But the confusion came because on that 2-1 pitch, the scoreboard had it 1-2, which would have meant it would have been a strikeout. Instead, it was the other way around.
Right.
Which nobody on the field seemed to be confused.
No, nobody did anything. The hitter knew. I mean, he stayed there. He didn't walk back. I mean, he knew it was a 2-1 count.
I'm just wondering if somebody said something on the field, and that's why they all convened.
I don't know why it's taken them. It was 4 pitches. We just
Rewind
saw
the
it.
tape. All right, we're ready, right?
We just did.
Got it? Okay, we're good? Good. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, 2-2. Thanks, guys.
He's not running for president. He's not Tricky Dick. He's just saying the count is 2-2. $22 out of 30 pitches thrown for strikes so far by Cody Anderson.
I'm going to see if we can borrow Murph's ticker and give it to the umps tomorrow.
He's got a ticker?
Yes, he does. Click. He keeps counts.
2-2. Popped them up and out of play. Right back up the middle, might have hit his foot. It's going to carry him into center field, and Hicks will come around third and score. The Twins score the game's first run as Escobar drives him home, his 32nd RBI on the year.
This one right under the foot of Anderson into center field. Don't know if he got a piece of it or not. It was awfully close. It was a fastball down and away. No, it hit almost like the rubber. Went straight up, almost hit the rubber, and goes into center field. So Minnesota will draw first blood. 2 hits in the inning.
No one on, one out for Dozier.
It doesn't look like the Twins with those red tops on. I think this is only the 4th time they've ever worn these tops.
Dozier drives one to deep left field. Brantley looking up. It is off the wall. Into third is Escobar. He'll hold there. Dozier with a double. That's his 29th double of the year, and he's closing in on Jason Kipnis and Michael Brantley at the top of the double standings. Well, and now Minnesota has runners at second and third with only 1 out.
Yeah, you look at him. He's got 29 doubles, 23 homers, and 3 triples. And he didn't spot anything. He comes back and hits that ball down and in. He drove it off the wall, so they come right back on the first pitch, and they have second and third now with 1 out. So Mickey Callaway going to go out and try and settle him down. He doesn't want it to get out of control here early. It has been tough sledding for Cody Anderson.
Well, like any young pitcher, he's got to adjust to some of the ups and downs, and hitters making adjustments. Video scouting. Everybody will quickly learn everything about him. It doesn't take long, especially when you come out of the chute and fire 4 games, your first 4 starts where you give up 1 run or less. That gets the attention of all those hitters. Going to intentionally walk Joe Mauer, left-handed batter, to face Miguel Sano, but now the bases will be loaded with only 1 out.
Well, they look for the strikeout or the double play ball is what they're trying to do here. Mauer, a guy that puts the bat on a ball, you figure if you play back, you're going to get a run anyway. He'll put it in play. Take your chances with the young rookie.
The interesting thing about Cody Anderson is those first 4 starts, he went deep in every game and gave up 1 run or less. And then in his last 3 starts, he's given up 4 or more. Well, right now, he's in a tough spot early on. Miguel Sano struck out in the first. Low and away, ball 1. Sano missed all of last year. He's a third baseman by trade, but he missed all of last year with Tommy John surgery. Obviously, you think pitcher normally, but every once in a while, position player pops that elbow ligament.
Yeah, well, this is a guy, this is why they walk Mauer. He struck out 39 times in 95 at bats. So he can swing and miss. He does have power. Has 5 homers.
Broke his bat, it sounded like, popped him up on the infield. Ramirez, the second baseman, has it 2 down.
Well, he makes a good pitch, hit it off the end of the bat. You can see another young hitter gets very aggressive with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, you can hear it right off the end, crack the bat.
Sure did. Now you got one more step. You get that big second out. You got to close this inning out, minimize the damage.
Seven of Plouffe's 15 home runs. So almost half of his homers this year have come with runners in scoring position. So he's a guy that he thrives in these situations.
Not a good average, but he does have 2 career grand slams.
To left field, down the line, and a fair ball. Into the corner. Brantley will dig it out. 2 runs will score. It's a 2-run double for Trevor Plouffe and a 3-0 Minnesota lead.
And that ball looked like it hit right on the chalk. Now, I was watching Plouffe come out, and it looked like a changeup to me. Speeds up his bat. And then when it went down the line, you're going to see it just hit chalk. So a 2-out double, a big one. And that one, middle of the plate. You have got to keep that changeup down and out of the zone. You can see it right inside the line for Plouffe, his 27th double. Give him RBI number 60 and 61. And they put a crooked number on the board here with 2 outs. Make it a 3-run inning.
Down in the dirt. Torrey Hunter fly to left on the first pitch he saw in the second inning. Low and away. 2 balls and a strike. Clayton Kershaw's 37-inning scoreless streak lasted all of 1 pitch tonight.
Did it really?
First one he threw, Gregory Polanco hit it out for the Pirates, and that's that.
That's a good pitching matchup. They got Garrett Cole going for Pittsburgh.
Slow chopper foul. Let's see, Rick. We got 2-1 Dodgers in the fourth. Must have been one of those goofy plays. Howie Kendrick hit an infield single and 2 runs scored for the Dodgers. So the 2-2 and a ground ball towards third. It's in the hole by Urshela, by Lindor into left field. 2 more will score. It's a 5-run third for Minnesota. Torrey Hunter drives in his 58th and 59th runs on the year.
Yeah, a CNI hit right there, and that really opens it up. Turns it into a 5-run, a big inning, as this one sneaks through between Urshela and Lindor. With 2 outs, you're off and running. So a big 5-run inning for Minnesota, and Cody Anderson just couldn't stop it, and he's done. Out comes Tito. He couldn't get out of it. He got the second out of the inning. He just couldn't put it away. You give up back-to-back hits and 4 more score, and that happens to young pitchers.
So we've got a Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen here in the 3rd inning with 2 outs. The 9th man to bat in the inning will be Eddie Rosario. It's a short night for Cody Anderson. We'll be right back. And Minnesota breaking loose. It's a team that had batted a collective 140 over their last 7 games. They'd scored more than 3 runs once. But tonight, after 6 up, 6 down, they came out here in the bottom third of the order. A couple of singles, and then it got away from Cody Anderson, and he's out of the ball game.
Yeah, 5 hits in the inning. The 1 intentional walk. That came around to score.
Last 2 hitters have each driven in 2 runs. Now Eddie Rosario, who struck out his first time up, fouls 1 back.
Sometimes for young pitchers, that's the toughest thing to do. Is he was 1 pitch away. He got the second out with the bases loaded to pop up to the infield. Is closing out an inning. And it ended up costing him 4 more runs after he'd given up the 1. Had a chance to get out, couldn't do it. So now his struggles continue. He's going to have to go back and work hard. He made some mistakes, though, middle of the plate.
Runner goes, pitches up high, Gomes throw a little bit high, and Torrey Hunter has a stolen base, just his 2nd of the year. I guess an interesting spot to choose to run when you've only stolen 1 base all year.
Well, because it's 5-0, he knows they're not paying attention to him, so he just took off. You know, he's the last thing on their mind. They're concentrating on getting an out here. So the veteran knows when to pick the pitches to go.
just a bit outside, 2-1. That's hit pretty well. Left center field, in the gap, and a base hit. Oh, they collide. Brantley ran into Tyler Holt, and on his way to third is Rosario, and he is safe at third with a triple. Now we'll check the carnage in left center. Everybody appears to be okay.
Well, you got a Holt out there in center field, new center fielder. You know, and that ball's getting knocked down over there, and maybe the communication. You know, when it is windy, it's tough to hear. Although that was one of those tweeners where I don't think anybody could have caught the ball, and Holt was going behind him and ended up hitting him in the face with a glove. Brantley stayed on the ground. Let's see what Holt. He was just going to go back up. And Brantley comes into the way, and he takes one to the jaw. So that'll go as a triple. That last run closed the book now on Anderson. He gives up 6.
Twins have batted around as Aaron Hicks steps in. And he smokes one to deep center. Holt sprinting back on the track makes the catch to end the inning. Minnesota blows it open with a 6 in the third. Later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Twins lead the Indians 6-0 as we go to the bottom of the third. Giovanni Urshela, Tyler Holt, and Jose Ramirez due up for the Tribe.
Well, Mike Pelfrey has to go out there a different guy now. After his offense spots him 6. His last start against Seattle, he went 8 innings, gave up 4 hits, did not allow a run, and didn't get a decision. He left that game 0-0. So that inning certainly pumps a little adrenaline into him.
Ground ball between first and second. Dozier cuts it off, throws wide of the bag, and Urshela is safe at first. Infield single for Urshela. Dozier went a long way to get to it. But when he went to the ground and then spun around, his zest to get the ball off quickly might have cost him an accuracy.
He did, but you look, he pulled him off. That was a bad throw. He had an opportunity. He had time to really stop and get his momentum to throw him out and pulls Mauer off the bag.
Now Tyler Holt. Fastball in for a strike. A little bit low.
Yeah, this is the most runs in support that Pelfrey has had since May 8th. That was a game right here at Cleveland where they had 8 for him. So whatever it is, he comes here. The offense for Minnesota, they pick it up. 2 games this year.
Chops it foul. Holt slugs one through the infield, a base hit into center field. Urshela stops at second, and the Indians have back-to-back singles to open the third as Tyler Holt snaps an 0 for 10 slump at the plate.
Gives him a little swinging room with 2 strikes here. That little slider off the plate, and he just throws the head of the bat out there and lines it up the middle. So that's 4 hits for the Indians that first time through the lineup.
More than he usually gives up.
Yes, indeed.
Jose Ramirez looks at a ball outside. Ramirez doubled off the wall in center field to start the game, but the Indians could not get him home. One and one. Powell right back. Sometimes you have to wonder when a pitcher hasn't had much run support, how does he react to this embarrassment of riches? Now the 1-2. Chased it in the dirt, helped him out. 1 away. Earlier today, Sports Time Ohio went over to Barrio on Prospect and gave these lucky fans the opportunity to come to the ball game and hang out in the Sports Time Ohio patio. If you want to check out this incredible area, get your district tickets for only $13 at Indians.com. Francisco Lindor, a sacrifice bunt, his only time up in the first. Takes ball 1. Ripped into right field, a base hit. Kind of handcuffed Torrey Hunter, but everybody has to stop because it was hit on a line drive right at him, and tough to get a good read on whether or not maybe he'd have a play on it.
Well, that ball, that's a tough one. it was hit right on the nose, and it just got down, and there's nothing Hunter could do. He had to wait back on the ball. You can't go out and try and make a catch and let it get by you. You give it a single, and you just get it in. He realized he wasn't going to catch it. You just field it and get it into your cutoff man. Now the Indians will have bases loaded and just 1 out, so their opportunity to get on the board now.
Michael Brantley grounded into an unusual double play to end the first inning. Missed outside, ball 1. And a line drive base hit into left field. Scoring is Urshela. Holt stops at third. Base is still loaded. Still only 1 out. Tribe's on the board. Brantley has his 58th RBI on the year.
Just taking it the other way. That was a pretty good pitch. It was down. And Brantley slaps it to left field. Hit too hard. By the time Rosario comes up, you had to hold Holt at third base. You're down 5 now, but they're on the board. It's a 6-1 game. Still the bases loaded and 1 out. So a chance to have a big inning here.
Carlos Santana is the batter. Santana checks on a ball that's up high. Santana fly to center, his only time up. I mentioned before, you wonder how a guy reacts when he hasn't had this kind of run support. The last time the Twins scored 6 runs while Mike Pelfrey was in the ballgame was on May the 8th right here in Cleveland.
Yeah. So I say he likes to come here. The team does.
2-0 pitch. Way outside. Well, he's searching for it. Now pitching coach Neil Allen is getting ready to make a visit to the mound. He's gotten up out of his seat.
Well, you hear you got to have the green light on. Look for a fastball, something that you can handle, and let it go.
Now the 3-0 from Pelfrey. Taking. And it was right in there for a strike, 3-1. Might have been too far inside for Santana's liking. But you always talk about narrowing your field of focus to middle in. That looked like it was.
It was middle in. It looked like a good pitch to go after if you're going to keyhole it.
He walks in a run. Santana picks up the RBI on the walk. And it's 6-2. Bases still loaded as Tyler Holt comes home to score. Neil Allen, the pitching coach, will make a trip to the mound. Lindor to third, Brantley to second, and now Yan Gomes will be the batter.
Yeah, this is getting interesting here. Base hit makes it very interesting. And it's a little surprising. He only threw 1 strike to Santana. That's what I'm saying. If you're Santana, in that situation, look for a pitch that you can really drive and maybe hit out of the ballpark. I don't know. It looked like he was taken all the way, and maybe he didn't want to swing at it.
Yan Gomes will be the batter. So far this year, each team has hit at least one home run in every game they've played against each other. Boy, would this be a great spot for Gomes to take care of that for the Indians. Low and away, ball one.
You know, he wasn't going to give in and give him a fastball, but he gives him a slider, and he fall behind in the count again.
Right field slicing out of play. 1-1 to count. As Pelfrey labors through this third inning, and now Minnesota gets their bullpen up. Cody Anderson was knocked out in the third inning, and now Mike Pelfrey, already 22 pitches deep into this third inning, could be on the verge of getting a quick hook himself.
Yes, he can. You get another base hit here.
Out of play by Gomes, and it's 1-2. Now the 1-2 from Pelfrey. In the dirt. Nice block by Suzuki.
Yeah, I tried to get him to chase one there. Gomes, he was inside and jammed him 2 pitches in a row. Thought he'd get him to chase one, but he did not. Boy, and I don't think he wants to go 3-2.
Off the end of the bat, punch toward right center.
That'll get another one in.
Hicks, the center fielder, will make the catch. Tagging and scoring is Lindor. On his way to third goes Brantley. It's a 6-3 ball game. Indians at the corners now with 2 down. Gomes picks up RBI number 21 on the year.
Yeah, they cut it in half, which is a great thing. One more hit and do what the Twins did, add on with 2 outs. That would even be better. And Chisenhall will have an opportunity. Runners at first and third.
The 8th man to bat in the inning is Lonnie Chisenhall, who singled right up the middle his first time up. Tried to push him off the plate with a fastball inside. 1-0. Lonnie with a base hit in the left field. That'll bring home Michael Brantley. It's a 4-run third for the Indians as they claw their way back in it. Santana stops at second. Chisenhall's 2 for 2, and he's driven home his 21st on the year.
Well, that's a way to go. You just take them the other way. Don't try and do too much. Look, they're taking that inside-out approach, staying on the baseball. They have 5 singles in the inning. And, boy, they come back and they put their own big number on the board.
9th man to bat in the inning is Jerry Sands. And he misses outside and low, ball 1. 2 balls, no strikes.
Boy, the big man has struggled, hasn't he? He had to sit down for a while when that offense took over, and this is going to be pitch number 30 in this inning to try and get through it.
Jerry Sands takes aim with 2 aboard and 2 out. And he hammers one to right center field. Torrey Hunter on the move and makes the catch. So the Indians score 4. They leave a pair. They're back in it through 3. 6-4 our score.
Back for an encore performance tomorrow night, and fans will get a Michael Brantley bobblehead courtesy of Progressive. Visit Indians.com for your ticket details.
Well, we go to the 4th. Austin Adams, who got the last out of the 3rd, stays on. Kurt Suzuki to lead it off, takes a strike. Kurt Suzuki, in his last 19 home games, is batting over 300, but on the year just 196 away from target field.
Yeah, you look at Minnesota, they're 34-22 at home compared to just 20-32 on the road.
That's the way it normally is.
Yeah, you take advantage of it. Maybe not that far below 500 on the road. You like to hover around that 500 mark if you can.
So left center field, and that's going to drop for a hit. So Suzuki has a leadoff single. AT&T U-verse rewind, part of that 3rd inning. Minnesota with 6 hits in the inning. Back-to-back 2 RBI hits, a 2-run double by Plouffe and a 2-run single by Torrey Hunter right here. It all added up to 6. And then the Indians came around and scored 4. So all told, that 3rd inning went for 42 minutes. There were 10 runs on 11 hits and 63 total pitches. Pelfrey survived, but he was on the verge of being knocked out of the game himself. Eduardo Escobar with an RBI single in the 3rd. Takes a strike. Jeff Manship gets loose now in the Cleveland bullpen. Off-speed pitch for a strike.
Fastball and a changeup. Yeah, you've got that bullpen going because the Indians brought themselves right back into the game quickly. Adams already given up 2 hits out of the first 3 hitters he's faced. Yeah, the Indians have to put some zeros on the board now for a while till they can come back and try and get some more. Right now, when you have a 6-run inning, boy, that was a great response by the Indians offense. And what they did, they singled them to death, man. They went out there and had 5 singles. Good pitch. Just off the dish. Not by much. Gomes going to sit and frame it and hold it, but it was off the plate.
Out of play to the left. This gives you an idea as to how well the Indian starters have been going. Austin Adams has had 10 days off between appearances.
Yeah. There was a couple times on that road trip, if you remember, after the game was over, a couple of guys in the bullpen got up and throw after the game.
Yeah.
After it was over. Because they haven't been getting any work.
Full count. Brian Dozier waits on deck. Time had been called before Adams fired to first.
I want to see if he starts him here with Escobar up there. He was down 0-2 in the count.
Up high.
And walked him. Boy, oh boy. He's not long for this game.
2 on, nobody out. And Brian Dozier to the plate. Dozier doubled and scored his last time up.
Well, I'm thinking when Manship is ready, he'll be in here.
Last 9 games, the Indian starters, that ERA. Look at the innings they've logged.
Yeah, they've done phenomenal. Very few hits.
Tonight, though, I mean, Cody Anderson, 6 up, 6 down, first 2 innings, just like he was walking through the park, and then all of a sudden, in that 3rd inning, the roof caved in on him.
Yeah, couldn't stop the bleeding.
So now Dozier. Loves that high fastball,
Yeah, he
but not
does.
that one.
Well, no, I mean, he's going to be. Adams throws a little bit harder than most guys do up there, so he's going to have to target his sights down a little bit, but he still doesn't throw too hard for Dozier. He doesn't care. He went in and hit a double off Anderson that he went down and in on. Like that, he'll.
Popped him up to center. Holt makes the catch. 1 away. Then I'll bring up Joe Mauer. Our Levin Furniture player profile, Joe Mauer. He has been a mainstay in this Twins lineup for a long time. His career major league average coming into this year is .319, so he's actually suffering through his worst season offensively in the big leagues, batting just .264 coming into tonight. Last year hit .277.
Well, there's still 2 months to go, and this guy's been known to get hot. He can get hot.
The whole idea was getting him out from behind home plate so he
Isn't
could
that
play
something?
more and get more at bats.
Well, they wanted to keep him healthy with, concussions and things like that, getting foul tips or getting hurt.
Well, he's only missed 1 game.
His value, though, is more behind the plate as a catcher. when he was hitting because, as a first baseman, he doesn't hit for power or drive in runs. Earlier in the year, if you remember, they were trying to get him to pull the ball more. Trying to get him to drive the ball when you get counts in your favor and this and that. He just didn't look comfortable doing it.
His career stat line is really strange. When you look at all of his numbers, most of his years look very similar, except 2009, he hit 28 homers, drove in 96, and batted .365.
That was in the Dome, right?
Swung on and missed. Austin Adams just blew a fastball by him. His first strikeout tonight, second out of the inning.
Well, there you'll see. Check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. That's just a fastball. Come on, baby. You come get it. 97. So he gets the big second out. Now, this is the one you have to get, the third one. That was the tough one for Anderson. Twins started this inning first and second, nobody out, but he's been able to retire Dozier. Now Mauer. One more to go.
Swing and a miss by Miguel Sano. Pop back out of play. Little bit low, 2-2. 2 years ago, Sano in the minor leagues, A-ball, double-A, hit 35 homers combined. Year before that, he hit 28. So it's a guy that they really feel like can give them some power.
Well, look at the size of him.
That one's hammered to deep left field, and it's going to go off the wall, and it's going to score a run. Suzuki comes home, and now here comes Escobar, slams on the brakes and dives back into third.
Yeah, another
2 out, a ringing double by Sano.
Yeah. He came down with the fastball. He had him set up maybe a high fastball, but he throws this. Watch it down. Look where Gomes is sitting. And it leaked back to the inside part of the plate, and he gets down to it and hits the base of the wall. So another double. That's 3 on the evening, and another big 2-out base hit, and Adams is done.
2 of those doubles allowed by Austin. Well, actually, extra base hits allowed by Austin Adams include the triple by Rosario in the third, and now the double by Sano here in the fourth. Timeout for another pitching change. advancing Minnesota's lead to 7-4. And that knocks let me try this one more time. That knocks Austin Adams out of the game, and Jeff Manship is now in there. Manship pitched a number of years in the Twins organization. He came up with the Twins. 14th round pick by Minnesota in 06. Made his big league debut in 09. Pitched there through the 2012 campaign before he moved on to Colorado as a free agent. In for a strike.
Now, Minnesota today, runners in scoring position 5 for 9. 2 out hitting, they're 4 for 7. That's something they weren't doing in their losing streak. They were hitting just 182 with runners in scoring position, but they've taken advantage of it tonight.
Breaking ball hit the short. Lindor. Low throw, and Sands with a good stretch to get him. A run home here, middle of the 4th. It's now 7-4 Minnesota. Using the hashtag STO Data Strong Fan for a chance to see yourself in an upcoming telecast. It's all courtesy of T-Mobile. Here in the bottom of the 4th, Giovanni Urshela, Tyler Holt, and Jose Ramirez due up. And a foul over the top of the Tribe dugout. Or rather the Twins dugout.
Urshela with a base hit his first at bat. Dozier tried to make a play going to his left. Had time, got up to spin and pulled Mauer off the bag. That got that inning going where they ended up following up with 4 more singles. And putting 4 on the board. That was the first time. Pelfrey had 7 1-0 counts going up until getting ahead of Urshela right here.
The 4 runs the Indians have scored tonight equals the most runs they've scored in any of their last 7 games.
And they did that in 1 inning. There it is,
Urshela
going the other way.
With a line drive into right field.
You're going to see the Indians going the other way. There's finally a base hit with the bases loaded. Brantley gets one. And then the walk certainly aids him. And then a sacrifice fly. And then how about a 2-out base hit by Lonnie Chisenhall? So they have 8 hits. Both teams have 8 hits.
Well, and for the Indians, Rick, tonight, to win this game, to have a chance to win this game, they'll have to do something that they've only done once in their last 14 games, and that's score more than 4 runs.
Well, I think that was a really big inning for them just psychologically, because when you go down 6-0, you know you've been having a tough time scoring, and you can come right back and put 4 on the board. You feel, okay, we're back in the game. Now it's up to the pitchers to hold it. Obviously they didn't. They give up 1 more, but it's still not out of control. But they have to keep zeros on the board to give their offense an opportunity.
Holt slaps one to left where Torrey Hunter makes the catch, 1 away. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pulaski.
Hey, man, Rick, an AL East tilt tonight. Jays and Yankees in New York. This is the only run for New York, but it tied the game at 1. Mark Teixeira continues his comeback season with this home run. That was under review, was confirmed a homer. Tied at 1, 5th inning. Matt, Rick.
Top of the order, Jose Ramirez. He is 1 for 2. He doubled in the first, struck out in the third. And Ramirez checks. It's a called strike over the outside corner, and the count quickly 0-2. Twins bullpen busy again. Pelfrey over 60 on the night. Up high, 1-2. Kind of get the feeling Paul Molitor's like, okay, we've lost 5 in a row, and we've put 7 on the board. I'm not going to let this get out of hand here.
Yeah, both managers feeling the same way. You know, when you don't score a lot, now you're early in the game, you have big innings, you're thinking, come on, we got to take advantage of it. And for the second straight time, Ramirez will go down swinging.
2 down in the inning. Both strikeouts for Pelfrey tonight come at the expense of Ramirez. Francisco Lindor to the plate, singled and scored in the third. Spun him out of the way. You know, maybe it's because they're young and there is a certain naivete when you're young in anything that you do in life. But with the news of Michael Bourne and Nick Swisher being traded today, I thought it was interesting that Francisco Lindor and Giovanni Urshela, they were just kind of going about their usual routine, their usual day. They weren't really caught up in any of the drama or the scene that was going on. They were just getting ready to play another ball game.
Happy to be in the big leagues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way it goes. Hey, they don't know any better. They're seeing it for the first time. Well, when you look at it now, they were around when Moss was traded, when Murphy was traded. So here you go. They got 2 more veterans that are on the move, and now this is a completely a young team. Who's your veterans here? Brantley and Kipnis, really.
The grizzled veteran, Michael Brantley. The 2-1. Hit hard into right field. Lindor's second hit of the night. Urshela stops at second.
Well, Francisco with his second straight hit. Now that gives Michael Brantley an opportunity with 2 outs. He turned on it and hit it right in the hole. Good job. And that pitch was on the inner part of the plate, and he really took advantage of it. Put a good swing on it. So 9 hits. They have the 1 double.
But that was, that's something that both Terry and Chris Antonetti, Tribe General Manager, talked about today. They met with the young core group. Brantley, Gomes, Kipnis. The pitch missed outside. Corey Kluber. I don't want to forget anybody, but that group, the young group that they identified and signed the extensions this spring and in years past. They talked to them about what's going on, what this team is going to do going forward, and
well, these are the guys that are going to have to lead the way for the younger guys.
Yep.
So they have to understand, and I'm sure they do.
Brantley with a liner. It's a fair ball down the right field line. Urshela will score. Lindor coming around third. He's going to be waved home. There will be no throw. Michael Brantley with a 2-out, 2-run double. It's a 1-run game at 7-6.
Well, there you go. They finally get the big hit, and it's a 2-run double by Brantley, who's driven in 3 now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Molitor walking out there and taking him out. Boy, he had a pitch up, elevated. So Pelfrey, a couple of bad pitches, the last 2 hitters, and they take advantage of it. That one down into the corner. With 2 outs, here comes Lindor carrying the mail. He's going to score. They make it a 1-run game. We have a new ball game here, boy. This is a long way to go.
Cody Anderson lasted 2 2/3 innings. Mike Pelfrey lasts 3 2/3 innings. His night is over. A new pitcher for the Twins when we come back. Trades that were made today, taking over maybe more of a leadership role. He's doing it on the field, letting his play do the talking for him tonight.
Well, a couple of big 2-out hits there. There's one right there. Yeah, Brantley had the 1-out hit with the bases loaded, but there's a big one to get him right back into it after they scored. So they've answered Minnesota both times in the 3rd and 4th inning. And now momentum shift goes back into the Cleveland dugout.
A.J. Octor from nearby Oregon, Ohio, out near Toledo.
Making his debut tonight, 2015 debut.
Missed inside. Down and in, he missed. 3-0. Even though Akhtar is Ohio born and bred, he grew up a Tigers fan because geographically they're
closer,
pretty close to Tiger Town. He went to Michigan State. His dad's a high school football coach, and they're currently engaged in two-a-days, and they'll just put Santana on. Now, normally, I guess they have their two-a-days scheduled for night practices. Well, Dad, since he's the head coach, switched up the schedule so he could be here to watch A.J. hopefully get in the ball game, and hopefully he made it here tonight and is getting a chance to see him pitch.
Well, not a way. It's tough to miss. You've got your boy pitching there. You've got other coaches that can run those two-a-days. You don't have to be there, do you? Come on, it's a great time to miss them. I used to hate those anyway.
I think coaches are the only ones that like two-a-days.
Well, they must because they don't have anything else to do.
Here's Yan Gomes. Tying run in scoring position with 2 down. Sac fly is last time up. Takes a look at ball 1.
Yet to throw a strike. You got to take one, let him get in the zone. Well, there you see both teams. That's why crooked numbers are on the board. Hitting with runners in scoring position, something both teams have not been doing very well. They're doing it very well tonight.
Close, and it does get called a strike.
Now, that's where you say, if you're a hitter, you say, hey, look, don't help him out. He's been struggling to throw strikes. I mean, that's not the best of strikes. Not to say that it wasn't one, but
that's not, and it's outside. 2-1 for Gomes. Tribe with 4 in the third. They've come right back with 2 here in the 6th. Both runs scoring with 2 outs thanks to Brantley's double. Then the walk to Santana. Now Gomes awaits the 2-1. High fly ball deep left. Rosario looking up. Gone to Souvenir City. The Indians lead for the first time tonight. Yan Gomes with an emotion-changing 3-run homer. The Indians scoring 5 with 2 out here in the 4th.
boy, how about that? He tries to throw one. It goes right down the middle, and Gomes deposits that ball into the left field bleachers. Boy, oh boy, with 2 outs. This is going to propel these guys. They're going to have a lot of energy right now with some big hits.
Lonnie Chisenhall takes on the outside corner a strike.
Sometimes it just takes one to get you going, and then everybody else relaxes. And boy, what an inning they put together. 9 in the last 2 innings.
Long way to go, but Rick, you have to love the response this team shows after the events of earlier this afternoon.
Absolutely.
You're down 6-0 out of the chute, and they come all the way back to take the lead.
They put 9 runs on the board in 2 innings when they've scored 16 runs on the last road trip. So, I mean, that puts that in perspective. They come home, and this is a place where they haven't scored. This is a place that's been tough for them to play. This is fantastic.
Lonnie swings and misses. It's 2-2.
11 hits, 9 runs. This game's a long way from over, my friend.
No
There's
doubt.
a long way to go.
The 2-2. Swing and a foul tip held on to end the inning. But how about these Indians? 4 in the third, 5 in the fourth. They lead at 9-7. by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. Indians on top 9-7 now. Fifth inning. And a battle of bullpens the rest of the way tonight. Manship with a first pitch strike to Torrey Hunter. Hunter drove in two his last time up after he flied to left in the second inning. And he drills one to deep left field. This baby is off the wall. Brantley with a bare hand grab and throw. Close play, and Hunter just does beat it in there at second base. The only question was, would Hunter fall off the bag? You saw Ramirez keeping the tag on him, but it's a leadoff double for the elder statesman from Minnesota.
Yeah, he hung him a breaking ball on the inside part of the plate, and he golfed it down the left field line. Goes halfway off the wall. Brantley played it beautifully. Bare hands it. Now watch, he gets his foot in it, and then he'll put the hand down. See, he knows he's got the hand there. The left hand is on the base, and then he can take his feet off. There you go. There's the hand. Got it. Now take him off. So that's Minnesota's fourth double.
Eddie Rosario tripled in a run in the third. So much for that wind blowing in tonight.
Well, it hasn't made a difference here. We already have 20 hits in the game, Matt. We're in the fourth inning. Go figure. Well, that's when you have a great pitching matchup and you're sitting there, boy, we're looking for a low-scoring game or something like that. See you later. That's blown out of the water already. The hitters are turning the wind around. Now it's blowing out.
Yeah. It has not affected anybody.
Torrey trying to talk his way into a balk. He was saying he did something, but he stepped off is what he did.
Well, he just kept inching off, and never stopped, so Manship had to do something.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He stole a base back in the third inning when it was a 5-0 lead.
Rosario does his job, though. He gets him to third, and now with one out, a chance for Aaron Hicks to bring him home.
You know, and you think about it, a game like this where hits are going, if they can come right back and score again, that's why if you move them over to thirds, you'll give the next guy, Hicks, an opportunity to drive him in. And then you make it a one-run game. So we haven't been in too many slugfests all year. It's sort of fun to watch.
Hicks singled and scored in the third, takes a strike on the inside corner. He went too far, says Rob Drake down at third.
Well, you take a look from the side, and he certainly did. Good call.
Manship misses, and the count evens at 2-2. Aaron Hicks Awaits the 2-2 pitch, and he punches it foul.
Yeah, he went after to just foul it off. He let him back into the count.
The only other times this year the Indians have been involved in what you would consider a slugfest, both times it came against Texas. Down in Texas, the Indians beat the Rangers 10-8, and here in Cleveland, the Rangers beat the Indians 10-8. That's really the only other time this year that they've been involved in a high-scoring game in which both teams. I mean, they had that game where they were walloped by Chicago 17-0, but that doesn't count when it's one-sided. Line drive beyond Lindor's reach into left center field. Holt tries to cut it off. He does. But diving into second base with an RBI double is Aaron Hicks, and it's a one-run game.
I'll tell you, Aaron Hicks did a good job because he was down in the count 0-2, and he worked it to 3-2. And the next thing you know, he smokes a double to left center field. Their fifth double tonight, and back come Minnesota, 9-8. So the Indians can't stop their offense. Look at Gomes jumping up. He wanted Lindor to climb the ladder
and
catch it. He's only about 5'10". He's not going to get much higher than that. That's his best jump right there. He would have had to be about 6'6" to get that one.
Now Kurt Suzuki. Swung out and missed. Chase one in the dirt. The Indians lead the Twins by a run. They've also out-hit them by one to this point.
Yeah, this is the 9th time this year that the Indians have scored 9 runs or more, and the first 8, they are 8-0. But they can't stop here. They're going to have to continue to score, it seems like.
Way outside.
Big crowd tonight. A Rock and Blast show following. 10th anniversary for Rock and Blast. A lot of fireworks going on in the first 5 innings of this game.
The 1-1. Chop foul, third base side. It is one of those summer nights that you just like to bottle and pop it open in the middle of January.
And keep it for the rest of the month. Yeah. Absolutely.
Chop to third. Urshela looks him back. Throws him out. 2 down. Hicks stalled at second base, and Eduardo Escobar will be the batter.
This is where Minnesota's been good. 2 outs, runners in scoring position.
Line to second. This one's caught by Jose Ramirez to end the inning. Twins get a run closer. It's 9-8 Indians, middle of the 5th.
Up the homestand. That's against the New York Yankees. Hot dogs all night long. Just $1. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Bottom of the 5th, in the bottom third of the order for Cleveland here. Jerry Sands, Giovanni Urshela, Tyler Holt due up. A.J. Ochter gave up the 3-run homer to Yan Gomes to put the Indians ahead.
Well, he came in and had a tough time throwing strikes. Ended up walking Santana. It was an intentional walk, but he fell behind him 3-0, so the first base was open. Then he missed with Gomes on the first couple of pitches. Yan Gomes shot him to left center field.
Bounced in front of the plate. And it's 2-2. Foul back. In the dirt. Had a full count. Shoots it foul on the right side and out of play. Swung on and missed. He strikes him out. One down here in the bottom of the 5th. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. And the Indians breaking out the big bats here tonight. Started in the 3rd inning. Lonnie Chisenhall driving in a run. Indians scored 4 times in that 3rd inning. Then in the 4th, Michael Brantley a 2-run double. Yan Gomes a 3-run ding-dong to the bleachers. And the Indians lead it now 9-7. Yeah, you forget the Indians' last home game was the end of a disastrous homestand, but they beat Kansas City that day 12-1.
Oh, right. But they lose their first 6, and then they won the getaway day.
Yep.
Then went on the road, win the first 2 in Oakland. Thought they turned it around pretty well from great pitching. But this is where they have to turn around their home ballpark. You got to find a way, these young kids, to hit and score in this ballpark and even pitch better. Their pitchers at home have an ERA that's a run higher here than when they go out on the road.
Jason Kipnis sidelined at the moment, but hoping to be back inside of 2 weeks. The 1-2 pitch. Urshela lays off to even the count. Urshela, 2 singles, 2 runs scored. The 2-2 offering, punched out a play to the right.
Yeah, Octor very deep on every hitter he goes to in an at-bat. A guy that doesn't like to pitch to contact. Although he has struck out his last 2 guys.
Out of play to the right. Chased one and strikes out. So A.J. Octor came on and intentionally walked Carlos Santana after he fell behind 3-0.
Right.
Then gave up a 3-run homer to Yan Gomes, and now he struck out the next 3 batters. Tyler Holt singled and scored in the 3rd, fly to left his last time up. Waves at a pitch low and away, strike 1. Bullseye went to a fastball, just painted the outside corner. 2 quick strikes on Holt. Holt strikes out, and Octor has fanned 4 in a row, trying to restore some order to an otherwise wild game thus far. Data Strong fan photo of the game. And don't forget, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STODataStrongFan to have a chance for one of your photos to be shown during our telecast. It's all courtesy of T-Mobile. Who's Al posing with
That's
there?
Albert. That's Prince Albert, and I'm not sure.
In a can?
Yeah.
Well, Zach McAllister is the 4th Indians pitcher to work tonight. He comes out to face the top of the Twins order here in the 6th inning. Dozier, Maurer, and Sano due up. Twins have scored in each of the last 3 innings. But, of course, they scored 6 in the 3rd. Throws it by Dozier, strike 1. Missed outside with a heater, and it's 2-1 on Dozier. Hit a long way, deep left, and Brantley's going to watch this baby sail out of here. Brian Dozier, with his 24th home run of the season, ties the game here in the 6th.
Well, they know he's a good high fastball hitter, and McAllister fell behind. And what's he throw him? But a high fastball. So Minnesota has scored in the last 4 innings. And this guy, 24th homer. Watch this. Boom, fastball coming into the middle part of the plate. They won it away. And McAllister misses his mark by a long shot. He doesn't miss many fastballs, does he? It's his second hit tonight. He's got the double, now a home run to tie the game. Both teams with 11 hits. Minnesota, out of their 11 hits, they have 7 extra base hits. They have 5 doubles, the triple, and that home run right there.
Joe Mauer is 0 for 2. He was intentionally walked back in the 3rd and came around to score. Now he fouls one out of play.
You know, out of 24 of Dozier's home runs this year, 17 have been solo shots.
Well, he's leading off a lot, so
yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
But I'm saying, you know, okay, let me go ahead and try and get this guy. You throw him that fastball, boy, and he'll shoot you.
Bounce to short, Lindor. Throws out Mauer. 1 away. Tomorrow night, we're back. Indians Twins. Irvin Santana will go for Minnesota. Trevor Bauer will go for the Cleveland. Our coverage begins at 6:30 with Indians Live. First pitch, or it's 7 o'clock right here on Sports Time Ohio. Strike 2 called. Brian Dozier's first professional season of baseball was in 09. He hit no home runs. His second year he hit 5. His third year he hit 9. And then he broke into the big leagues for the first time in 2012. Hit 6 with the Twins. He had 2 in the minor leagues that year for a total of 8. The next year he hit 18, last year 23, and now 24 this year.
Yeah, he's remarkable. He's not a big guy. Generates great bat speed. And you know what? He doesn't miss the fastball when he gets it. We tell you, yes, he did.
Ooh, no, he did not, says first base umpire Mike Everett.
Looked like it from our vantage point. We'll take a look from the side. He was looking down there. Let's see from this angle. No, he held up. Good call.
Sano fouls it back. Earlier in the year, Twins had another big guy in the middle of their lineup, Kenny Vargas. But Vargas just didn't get sent down. He got sent back to Double-A, where over 31 games there, he's hit .257. Oswaldo Arcia, another big bat that they were counting on. He's at Triple-A, and in 58 games there, he's hit .226.
You know, a lot of their young kids, their prospects, like Hicks, who's here tonight, he was hurt over the last couple of years, and a couple of their young prospects have been hurt and on the DL, so they haven't been able to get them up here. And when they do, they continue to get hurt.
Now the payoff pitch. Swung out and missed. McAllister strikes out Sano, 2 down.
Let's make this our Circle K. Strikeout, a fastball that was up a little bit more, and it was out away from him. Takes a swing and comes up empty. So McAllister's first strikeout, second out of the inning.
Trevor Plouffe, the batter, drove in 2 with a double in the third. 1 out of 3 on the night. Shoots one to right field, and Lonnie Chisenhall makes the catch. But Brian Dozier's solo home run, his 24th of the year, has tied the game at 9 in the middle of the 6th. The bottom of the 6th inning, and after A.J. Octor worked a inning and a third, he'll give way now to a left-hander, Brian Dunsing.
Now it seems like every time we play Minnesota, Dunsing gets an opportunity to pitch. I think in the last time we faced him, he might have been hurt. But he's appearing for the 39th time, 3-0, a high ERA. 15 walks in his 27 and third innings. He'll be facing the top of the lineup, Ramirez, Lindor, Brantley.
Ramirez is 1 for 3. He doubled in the first. He has struck out his last 2 times. Up. And takes a strike. chases one. And it's now 0-2.
Yeah, Ramirez just 15 hits from this side of the plate.
Checks, it's a little bit outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Dunsing delivers, and Ramirez pops it shallow right. Long run for Hunter. He's there, though, and makes the catch. 1 away. Well, in case you joined us late or missed the news from earlier today, the Indians made a swap. They sent Nick Swisher and Michael Bourne both to the Atlanta Braves, and the Indians get Chris Johnson back. Now, Swisher and Bourne are signed through next season. Johnson has 2 years additionally left on his contract.
Yeah.
Also, reportedly, there was some money that swapped hands. Johnson was primarily a third baseman. This year, he played almost as many games at first base as he did at third base. And
hard to believe was Freeman out of the lineup, though, because they have a good first baseman, so he must have filled in for him when he was out. Oh, look out.
There goes the bat over top of the dugout. That's about 10 rows back. Everybody seems to be okay. Lindor will go get a new stick.
And put some pine tar on it. Boy, that thing goes in, and little kid's sitting right there.
He said, I want that bat.
Well, he may have it right about now, and it's a good thing it didn't get him. He was sitting in either Pops' lap. You better be heads up. Always paying attention.
Two-strike pitch. Well, we'll have Chris Antonetti, the Tribe general manager, stopping by the booth tomorrow night, so we can ask him. But I would find it hard to believe, as Lindor sends one right back to the mound for out number 2. Based on what we've seen so far, Rick, it would appear that Giovanni Urshela is the third baseman of the future. So for Johnson, maybe he can play some third occasionally, play some first occasionally.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I only watched him play as a third baseman. I don't know what else he can do, but we could find out tomorrow. Yeah, not playing third. Urshela can handle that position defensively, no question about it. Very good third baseman.
Here's Terry Francona on new acquisition, Chris Johnson.
Millsy's had him before. Millsy knows him real well. I mean, obviously I had Chris's dad as a coach in Boston, so I know him a little bit. But I said, come here and you know, I want to talk to him first, kind of see how he feels. You know, I think he's played 18 games at first. We know he can play third. And I think he's dabbled in the outfield, and I don't know much more than that. So want to, again, talk to him about some of those things before we start making any proclamations.
Chris's dad, Ron Johnson, played a little bit in the big leagues, was a AAA manager. I think he still is a AAA manager at this time, but as Terry said, I think he was his first base coach for a while in Boston. So it'll be we'll all be curious to see just what kind of a role he'll have on the ball club.
Well, how he'll fit in.
We know this. He's a right-handed bat.
We've got guys playing everywhere now. Chisenhall in right field. He's never been out there before. You've got Sands playing first, so you wait and see.
Now the 2-2. Fouled right back. There's Jerry Sands, who been an outfielder, I'd say primarily. But he's done a nice job defensively from what we've seen at first base.
Only seen him a few times out there, and he's been fine.
Michael Brantley's driven in 3 tonight. Key 2-run double helping to spark that big 4th inning. Escobar will throw him out, and the inning is over. We've played 6. We are tied at 9. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T UVerse, has more channels on the go than cable. All right, we roll on now to the 7th inning, 9-9 our score. Torrey Hunter, Eddie Rosario, and Aaron Hicks due up for the Twins. Hunter drove in a pair and has scored 2 so far tonight. And that pitch is outside, ball 1 from Zach McAllister. No activity in the Cleveland bullpen. McAllister gave up the game-tying home run to Brian Dozier last inning. Upstairs. It's always a tricky managing job when you have to get into your bullpen early.
Yeah, and both teams had to do that. You need someone to step up. This is McAllister trying to give you a couple of innings.
Deep to right, Chisenhall.
That wind kept that one maybe in.
Makes the catch, 1 away. Rock and Blast presented by First Energy, back for an encore performance tomorrow night. Fans will get a Michael Brantley bobblehead courtesy of Progressive. Visit Indians.com for ticket details. So the Brantley bobblehead tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Sure fans want that one. And he's had a good night tonight.
Yes, he has. But who will be the hero tonight, and which side will he be playing for? That's still to be determined.
Well, it's been 4 straight innings where Minnesota has scored. They haven't been able to put a 0 on the board yet since the 2nd inning. And that was the breeze where Cody Anderson did. After that, it's been 6-1-1-1.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, because the Twins bullpen has combined to set down 7 in a row, and their bullpen's been the one supposedly struggling.
Right.
Casey Fiend getting loose now. And a foul right back.
Well, you can see you get those hitters and they get into their counts. A 2-1 count. That was the one that Dozier hit out of the ballpark. They take pretty healthy cuts.
Swung on and missed. Rosario down on strikes for the second time tonight. And now McAllister has retired 5 in a row.
Fastball, he's going to go upstairs above the belt, and you get him to swing and miss. That's the place you want to get him. They look good, just too tough to catch up to. Second strikeout for McAllister, second out of the inning.
Aaron Hicks to the plate. He swung the bat well tonight. And he's swinging it well again. His third hit of the ball game.
There's another guy. He likes the fastball. You better locate it. So that's his third hit. A couple of singles and a RBI double.
Kurt Suzuki singled and scored in the fourth inning. Grounded out his last time up. Hicks has 9 steals. He's been caught 3 times.
Well, this would be a good time. Look
Throw
at that.
it away.
Yes, he did.
And it hit inside the photo pit and then carried back out onto the field. So Hicks gets second base automatically on the error by McAllister.
Let's see the throw to first base. They're giving him a runner. Yeah, that throw nowhere close. You know, I understand you throw over there, but you don't have to pick them off. The key is just to hold them close and give your catcher an opportunity.
Out of play to the right.
Minnesota 5 for 11 tonight with 2 out hitting. But that was a stolen base opportunity. 2 down. You're at the bottom part of your lineup. If you think you can steal it, you go. They didn't have to, but they have a shot here with 2 outs to try and take the lead.
High pop. That's going to get into the seats. And the count 0-2 on Suzuki. So now a chance for McAllister to go for the strikeout. McAllister has been rearing back and throwing smoke. The 0-2 offering. Swung on and missed. He strikes him out to end the inning. We've reached the 7th inning stretch, tied at 9. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Next here on Sports Time Ohio. We've had a wild one to this point. 9-9 our score. Bottom of the 7th coming up. And the new pitcher for Minnesota is Casey Bean. Ryan Dunsing worked a 1-2-3-6.
That's what every manager's trying to do. Let's go. Get through these innings now. McAllister was able to get his clean inning, and there's Fiend coming on for the 37th time, 2-4 record. Only 3 walks, so this guy's aggressive. He throws a lot of strikes. Santana, Gomes, and Chisenhall, scheduled hitters.
Carlos Santana takes ball 1. Looked like he stayed with the same pitch, and that time Santana went after it. Comes up empty 0-2. Beg your pardon, 1-1.
Well, that was a good pitch after the one he just threw. That inside looked like it was running in on his hands and goes with the back door. Breaking ball.
Big bouncer to second base from the grass. Dozier throws him out, 1 away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Yan Gomes back in the 4th inning with 2 on and 2 out. Launches one to the bleachers for a 3-run homer. That put the Indians ahead at that time by a score of 9-7. Unfortunately, the Indians haven't had a man reach since that swing by Gomes. The offense has been put on ice since then. And now it's Gomes again who breaks that string with a base hit. Go ahead, run aboard with 1 out here in the 7th. Gomes has driven in 4, and now he represents the go-ahead run at first.
And there's that fastball that's up out over the plate. It gives John some swinging room, and he just stayed on it. Takes what the pitcher gives you, a 1-out single. He's got 2 hits now.
Lonnie Chisenhall 2 for 3 with a run driven in. Oh, he got in on him and rolls it to first. Chisenhall retired, 2 down. Gomes into scoring position. That'll bring up Jerry Sands, who is 0 for 3 on the night.
Well, now the Indians have an opportunity with that runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Minnesota had a chance in the top half.
Sands pops one to right field. In comes Hunter on a dead sprint. Out goes Dozier. And Dozier makes the grab and avoids Hunter to end the inning. 7 in the books. We remain deadlocked at 9. transmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Nine, eighth inning. And a new pitcher for Cleveland is right-hander Brian Shaw. He is the 5th Indians pitcher to work here tonight.
Yeah, he's going to try and keep it a 9-9 game. He's got 9-1-2. Escobar, Dozier, Mauer.
Pitch outside. Eduardo Escobar drove in a run and scored in the 3rd. Funny, when you look at the scoreboard, this one's about as even as they come. Each team with 9 runs, each team with 12 hits.
Yes, indeed. What do we got? Minnesota has left 5 stranded. The Indians have left 4.
Oh, just missed outside, and it's 3-1. I think that's a pitch Shaw really not only wants, but he needs to get that called.
Well, let's see. That's that cutter. Well, you see where Gomes brings it in.
Yeah.
It's a little off the plate. It didn't quite come in. It was a teaser.
Comes back, throws it by him, full count.
Yeah, that would be a good 2-strike pitch if he had it. He was behind in the count, so the hitter just doesn't have to go after it.
Escobar asking for time as he digs into that toe hold. Payoff pitch.
Nice cutter in on the hands.
Ramirez will throw him out, 1 away. Brian Dozier coming up now. He tied the game in the 6th inning with his 24th homer of the year.
Caught a nice 2-1 fastball from Zach McAllister, and he didn't miss it. It was on the middle 3rd of the plate that he was able to turn on. 24th homer, his 17th solo shot this year.
Out of play. Right back into Shaw's glove to end the. Oh, my. I thought it came out initially, but he held on to it. And there are 2 down.
Look what I found.
Right back at him, big time.
I mean, when you look at this ball, it's a cutter away or breaking ball. Well, it wasn't hit as hard as I thought. You see, he was looking for it. He saw it, but he hung with it. I'll tell you, I give him credit right there. Look, he sees it. And a lot of times as a pitcher, you think that thing's coming a lot harder than what it was.
Yeah.
It was still hit on the nose. But he saw it, he stayed with it, and made a nice catch to retire Dozier.
Trying to remember who we just saw Was it in Anaheim? Somebody, they caught it, and then
they caught it from behind.
In the flip, the ball flew out of the glove.
Who started the first game there? Garrett Richards. He threw the ball, and he's one of the worst fielding pitchers there, and he fielded that one behind his back and made the throw to first.
Yeah.
Remember Guba's telling us?
That guy. Terrible fielding pitcher.
He can't field his position. He fields one like that, he looked like a Gold Glover.
Fouled back. Punches it to left field, and Joe Mauer has himself a base hit, his first knock of the night.
Yeah, 0-2 count. He fouled a couple off, and he was just looking for something to serve to left field, and he got it. Just watch the approach. You go down. That was a good breaking ball down and away. He just served it that way. He was down on the count 0-2. Hit a pretty good pitch. That's hit number 13, and Mauer's first tonight.
Miguel Sano takes a fastball above the belt for strike one. Sano doubled in a run in the fourth. He has struck out twice and popped up on the infield. Swung on and missed. I'm just thinking of this guy as a third baseman. I don't know. Have we seen a third baseman this big since Troy Gloss?
Well, Gloss, yeah, he was about 6'5", but this guy's stocky. Take off a few inches and you'd think Pablo Sandoval, but this guy he's tall and wide.
Swung on and missed. He strikes out for the third time tonight. Brian Shaw with a scoreless 8th. And we are still deadlocked at 9. as Glover Teixeira battles Ovin St. Peru. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Bottom of the 8th inning. And the 5th pitcher of the night for Minnesota is right-hander Trevor May.
May started the year in the starting rotation because that suspension to Ervin Santana. He made 15 starts with the Twins. He went 4-7 on a .437 in the starting rotation. Now this will be his 12th relief outing since moving to the bullpen July 5th when Santana came back. And that's who the Indians are going to face tomorrow as a starter, is Ervin Santana. But here comes May in a tie game in the bottom of the 8th, 9-9.
Giovanni Urshela 2 for 3. He has singled twice and scored 2 runs. Fouled right back. Boy, did he have a pitch. And a wicked rip, but a foul back. Nothing to do with it.
Well, we showed you close and late in the game. Urshela has been a clutch hitter for the Indians. Hit the 2-run homer in extra innings out in L.A. the other night. And
blooping one. Dozier can't get it. And the Indians have the leadoff man aboard here in the 8th. His 3rd single of the night.
You know, Dozier ended the last inning making a tremendous play on Jerry Sands. Boy, he went back on this one and had a beat on it. He just missed it. That was a good pitch that Urshela hit right there. Little slider and just out of the reach of Dozier. So you get your leadoff man aboard here. This is definitely a bunt situation with Holt up at the plate.
Holt 1 out of 3 on the night. In on the grass at 3rd is Plouffe. Urshela not fleet of foot, so Holt has to get down a good bunt. Pops it straight up.
Boy, oh boy. You got to do that if you're getting an opportunity. You're hitting down in the lineup. And he's not swinging the bat very well, so you got to move the runner. You see a high fastball. He bunted a ball. You know, you got to get a strike, and that's what pitchers do. They'll throw you the high fastball, and he popped it straight up. Did that one other time when we were on the road trip.
Yeah. Well, Jose Ramirez the batter. Ramirez is 1 for 4 tonight. He doubled in the 1st inning. And a foul right back. Swung out and missed. Chased one down.
Change up.
Twins have double barrel action going in their bullpen. May misses outside, 1-2.
Yeah, they weren't going to give in. They were going to come back and throw that same changeup, but he misfired right there.
Ramirez sends a fly ball to right field. Hunter settles under it. 2 down. It will bring up Francisco Lindor. Lindor has 2 hits and has scored 2 runs. In the dirt, ball 1. Boston beating up Detroit tonight at Comerica 7-2. Toronto leads the Yankees 2-1. They're in the 10th in the Bronx. Popped him up near the plate. Third baseman calls for it. Plouffe makes the catch. Inning over. We'll go to the 9th. Tied at 9.
Jensen, but what a comeback for the Tribe today, down 6-0.
Hey, you talk about a team on the road that scored 16 runs and now 9 in 4 innings. They made a game of it. Now Shaw's got to shut it down.
He's Jensen, I'm Al. We'll see you right after the game right here on Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Let's go back to the booth now with Matt and Rick. Guys?
All right, thanks, Al. We go to the 9th inning, and it will be Trevor Plouffe, Torrey Hunter, and Eddie Rosario due up. Missed outside. Shaw working a 2nd inning of relief after pitching a scoreless 8th with 1 2-hit single allowed.
Pretty good cut there by Plouffe. He had a walk-off against the Indians in Minnesota this year to win it, and it came off of Brian Shaw. They had a good rip there.
To right field, charging hard is Chisenhall. He goes to a slide and makes a terrific catch. The novice outfielder looking like a seasoned veteran. 1 away.
Well, once you commit on that ball, you keep right on coming, because he didn't hit it all that hard, and it probably had some sink to it, but he committed. He didn't stop. He made a nice running catch and slide. Good play. Very good play. Retire that leadoff man. That's a big out.
Torrey Hunter smashes one to right, deep right. Back is Chisenhall. He's out of room, and it's out of here. Torrey Hunter, his 18th home run of the season, puts the Twins on top 10-9. Torrey Hunter.
Boy, I'll tell you what, he hit that ball. He smoked it. That's number 18.
His 36th career home run against the Indians.
He looked like he said he told somebody in that dugout, because when he got to first base, he was looking over there pointing. Boy, and he juiced it to right field. That ball, that got out of here. So it's a 10-9 ball game, Minnesota lead. Watch the swing. Was that a little cutter that
sure looked like it? That's exactly what it looked like.
Stayed up. It was up about belt high. I think
he didn't pull off of it.
No, I think Shaw wanted that ball to have a little more run to it off the end of the bat, but it did not. And boy, he stayed back on it nicely, and you can see into the third row. So they retake the lead.
Back out of play. Shaw ready with a 1-2. And that's hit pretty well. Deep center field. Holt's back. He leaps. Can't make the play. Around second, on his way to third, goes Rosario, and he is in with a one-out triple.
That's their second triple tonight. Holt went into the wall. Man, knocked the wind out of him. He hit it pretty hard. He went down but got up and is limping. I don't know if it went into his glove. It was hard to see from here, but it looked like he got leather on it.
It looks like he's having trouble getting his wind back.
Yeah, I think that's what he did. He knocked the wind out of him. It did get leather. And then all of a sudden he hit that wall and he has to get it in, and now Tito's going to come out and take out Shaw. It was close, boy. That was timing. He had a beat on it all the way. That ball was hit hard. Rosario smoked it. Well, Shaw is done.
We've got a timeout for a pitching change. Minnesota now in front, 10-9 in the ninth. Career homering here in the ninth inning to put Minnesota ahead. And then Eddie Rosario follows with a near homer. He settles for a triple off the wall in center. And with one out, Cody Allen into the fray with Aaron Hicks coming up to the plate.
Yeah, and for Minnesota tonight, out of their 15 hits, 9 have been extra bases. 2 homers, 2 triples, 5 doubles. And the opposition this year have hit 108 home runs against Tribe pitching. 47 of those home runs have either tied or given them the lead. So 44% of the homers.
Well, every team, or I should say, each team has hit at least 1 home run in every game they've played head-to-head this year. So for 2 teams that don't exactly light up the home run scoreboard totals,
right,
they've both been able to at least hit 1 against each other every time they've matched up tonight. Minnesota, of course, with a couple, and both of them are huge.
And they'd love to leave that runner stranded at third base. The infield is in. Make it a 1-run game because you're going to face Perkins, their closer.
The 0-2 fouled back. Swung out and missed. Cody gets a strikeout. They'll throw to first to complete the putout. 2 down. And that's going to bring up Kurt Suzuki. You know, you look at the way this game started out with Cody Anderson getting knocked out in the 3rd inning after giving up the 6 runs. And what Francona has done is he's tried to piece together the rest of the game by using each relief pitcher for multiple innings. Austin Adams, first reliever into the fray, his final line score looks like he only pitched 1 inning. But those 3 outs were spread over 2 innings.
Right.
And then Jeff Manship an inning in the 3rd. McAllister 2 innings. And I think he was looking at Shaw for the same situation, try to get multiple there to extend it and leave himself with Allen, Crockett, and Webb.
And normally they don't do that, you know, when you're in a ball game. They come on for their 1 inning. But Minnesota has scored in 5 innings of the game. You know, they jumped out early with a big 6-run 3rd inning. But the Indians' offense battled back. What happened to this? That got Gomes under the mask.
I think it went up around the throat.
Look at him. He's having a tough time catching his breath.
Ball went under the mask.
Oh, boy, it sure did. Stayed right there, too.
Got lodged inside of his chest protector.
Boy, yeah, caught him in the throat. You know, there you go. You've got that guy on 3rd base. You get the breaking ball in the dirt, and you got to block it. This one found a way to jump up under the mask.
Now the 2-1. Lifted to right field. Sprinting in Chisenhall. Out goes Ramirez. Lonnie calls for it, makes the catch. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. Indians down a run thanks to the home run by Torrey Hunter. It's 10-9 Twins. And look back at our Wayside Furniture keys to the game. Indians were down 6-0 in the third, but they rallied back to take a 9-7 lead. Since then, the Twins have come back and retaken the lead, 10-9. Offensively, the Indians spread it around tonight. They had 4 in the third, 5 in the fourth, but that's been it, and they need to rally now against Glenn Perkins, who's looking for his 30th save of the year.
Yeah, he was nearly perfect in the first half, 29 out of 31 opportunities. So he's going to have to go through Brantley, Santana, and Gomes. Brantley and Gomes have done the damage. They have 7 of the RBI. Santana has 1, so there's 8 of the 9. So you always like to get that leadoff man aboard. Down 1.
Brantley's driven in 3 of the Indians' 9 runs tonight. Up and in, almost hit him. One and one to count. Brantley's driven in 3. Yan Gomes has driven in 4. Carlos Santana got an RBI on a bases loaded walk, and Lonnie Chisenhall had an RBI single to drive in the other run. Lifted high in the air, shallow left, over is the shortstop. Escobar can't get there.
Yeah, he had to worry about that tarp. He got there. But boy, he was feeling for it, and boy, you know, it's not your ballpark. He couldn't take his eye off it right at the end, and he took it off right at the end. He thought he had one more step, but you got to stop, and not an easy thing to do.
If he takes one more full stride, he's in the second row.
Well, that's one where you may try to slide, but you got that rubberized track over there, so that's difficult to do.
Low and away, 2-2. Santana is next, then Yan Gomes here in the ninth for Cleveland. Brantley strikes out. Ball popped loose briefly. Suzuki throws him out. One away. Carlos Santana has walked twice tonight. Once with the bases loaded, and then they intentionally walked him in the fourth, and he came around to score on the homer by Yan Gomes. Indians were hoping that the Perkins that has reared his ugly head lately would be the one on the mound.
Well, if anybody, look at the numbers. 6 for 11 with 3 homers for Santana. But from the right side of the plate this year, he just hasn't been the same kind of guy. Santana, no homers. Hitting .236 from the right side of the dish and 8 RBIs.
Well, in Perkins' last 4 appearances, he had given up 6 runs in 3 2/3 innings, including 4 home runs. The 0-2 popped back out of play. In the dirt. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He did not go. It's 2-2.
No, he got a quick call that time. T.J. Rayburn, the umpire, as soon as he saw that ball go in the dirt, he asked for help, which is a good sign.
Back foot slider. Full count.
And he didn't chase either one of them. He came back with 3 straight pitches, all the same, thinking he was going to get Santana to chase, but he did not. And now we'll see on a full count.
Payoff pitch. Pulled foul.
Stayed with the off-speed pitch.
Well, this will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat for Carlos Santana. Yan Gomes waits on deck. Upstairs, ball 4. So Gomes will bat with the tying run at first and 1 out of the 9th. Earlier tonight, Gomes with a 3-run belt to the bleachers. He has driven in 4 on the night. Glenn Perkins ready to deal. Gomes takes low, ball 1. Ryan Rayburn has moved to the on-deck circle to bat for Chisenhall. And Gomes with a foul back. Pushed him back a little bit. 2 balls and a strike.
Yeah, I didn't want him leaning out over the plate. Doesn't want to give him anything to hit on the inside part of the plate because he doesn't want to give him something to pull. He hits one out and 2 runs and game over. Got to try and make him stay to the right side Good breaking ball right there. He bounced 3 in a row to Santana and tried to get him to swing at it, but that was a good one. That was for a strike. And there it is, and Gomes just a little bit out front.
Now the 2-2. And he threw it by him with a good fastball. And there are 2 down in the 9th.
Well, you know, that fastball inside. Then he went with the breaking ball, and he comes back with a good fastball and throws it by him. 94. So the Indians down to their last out, and it's going to be Rayburn pinch hitting for
Get a
Lonnie
pinch runner.
Chisenhall.
Mike Avila is going to run for Santana down at first base. And so it's up to Rayburn with 2 down. Ground ball single into right field. And Aviles will stop at second. Tying run into scoring position. So Rayburn comes off the bench and shoots one through the right side of the infield.
Well, he just stayed on the pitch and took what he was given.
Two on, 2 out. Jerry Sands, the batter, 0 for 4 on the night. And a foul back. He jumped on the first pitch. Sands is the only Indian batter who has not reached safely tonight. And a foul back, it's 0-2. Mike Aviles, the tying run at second base. Ryan Rayburn, the winning run at first. The 0-2 to Sands, strike 3 called, and the game is over. Glenn Perkins strikes out 3 in the 9th and strands 2 as the Twins hold on for a 10-9 win in the series opener. Trevor May gets the victory. He's 8-7. Glenn Perkins notches his 30th save. The loss to Brian Shaw, he's now 1-2 on the year. The win snaps Minnesota's 5-game losing streak. They're 55-54. The loss drops the Indians 10 games below 500 to 49-59 on the season. Well, let's take a look at our Pat O'Brien Chevrolet play of the game.
Well, coming in the 9th inning, Torrey Hunter gets a cutter up out over the plate. It didn't cut like Shaw wanted to, and he stayed on it and hit it out into right field. Boy, a big home run, and we've seen him do that a number of times against the Indians. So that broke the tie. The home run by Torrey Hunter, and Minnesota wins the first game of a series. And again, the Indians battled back, but they certainly couldn't hold on. And back come the Twins to win game number 1.
Good news, bad news scenario. Good news, they fought back. They showed some fight. The offense got rolling. Bad news is they couldn't hold back Minnesota's offense tonight. And they were a team that had been struggling offensively.
Well, both teams hit well with the runners in scoring position. That's the thing, and that's why you see so many runs. Now, we don't know what we're going to expect tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, another one-run ball game, and both these teams, they played hard.
So the final is 10-9, Minnesota. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's. It's coming up next. For Rick Manning, I'm Matt Underwood. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night for Game 2 of this 3-game series.